ladies and gentlemen, John here again. It's time for, yes, wait for it, wait for it. Wait, what? I didn't know that.
Yay!
You've been telling your friends it's coming. You've been telling everybody, wait till you see this. This is the best thing that's happened since sliced bread with warm butter on it. And it's finally here. Got to thinking about redfish because I'm going to chase some redfish this weekend. How did we get to 3? I remember as a kid, way back when, and yes, if you're asking, we had fire, we had electricity, we had wheels, and I didn't walk to school both ways uphill in the snow every year. But what I started doing is looking at the history through Texas Parks and Wildlife, and what I found is in 1967, and for those of you who are around with me, that was the year Hurricane Beulah hit the Texas coast, and it was pretty bad. So I'm guessing that's why they started looking at redfish, trout, whatever, to put limits on them. And in 1967, Texas Parks and Wildlife, they have to go to the legislature to get anything done. They didn't have power to change things in the county. So they go to the legislature and they tell them, look, we need to put a minimum size on redfish at 14 inches. And there was, I think, 3 counties that said that had minimum limits on redfish, and that was Cameron, Kennedy, and Willacy down on the coast. And they had those limits since 1955. So what that means is if you caught a 6-inch redfish and you wanted to, you could keep it. Before that, they did set a minimum limit of 14 inches for redfish. Amazingly, there was no bag limit. You catch 300 14-inch redfish if you wanted to. So I'm guessing that had something to do with the hurricane, probably messed things up as far as spawning for the redfish in the bays and things like that. So we fast forward then to 1977. And I'm sure in between there they started doing surveys to see what the fishery looked like, this fry, what was the reproduction rate and things like that. So in 1977, they passed a law that said the Red Drum Conservation Act, and that set bag limits of 10 fish in possession, 10 fish per day, and 20 in possession for sport fishermen like you and me. They did let you keep 2 fish that were bigger than 35 inches, but this is what blew me away. They put a limit of 200 pounds of redfish per day per commercial fisherman. 200 pounds of redfish a day. And I don't have a clue how many commercial fishermen there were, but I'm sure there was more than 5 or 6. So you can see, we start seeing a little bit of regulation come in. First one was probably due to a hurricane. 10 years later, they're looking at it and going, well, the hurricane kind of set things back, and now we got guys that can take 200 pounds a day. So we probably need to start checking this out, doing a little bit of research, and kind of limit things a little bit. We got to take care of this fishery for our kids, and it's a good thing. I know some of us have problems with authority and all these kind of things, but I think overall Parks and Wildlife does a good job of looking out for us. So we're going to go a little bit farther down the road. 1981, they passed the redfish bill in the Texas legislature, and that designated both our redfish and our trout as game fish and prohibited the sale of them. So I guess that means no more commercial 200 pounds a day, which was probably a good thing for us. They did, the fishing, I guess, had a lobby, and they sued and lost, so we were able to keep that. And from what I remember and read, they changed from trout and reds to flounder, black drum, croaker, other things like that. That same year, though, they did increase the minimum length for redfish to 16 inches, and they lowered the maximum to 30 inches. So the slot changed from minimum of 14 inches, maximum 35 inches. It went from minimum 16 inches, maximum 30 inches. And they also did something I thought was, I read this and I'm like, why would people do this? But they said the use of airboats or jet-driven devices, I'm guessing jet skis, to pursue and harass redfish and trout was prohibited. I can't imagine getting a couple of buddies together and say, hey, let's go chase redfish just to make them crazy. I guess it happened, or they wouldn't have had to pass a law. You know, we got to remember in the 80s there was red tide, there was a freeze in the bays that turned basically the bays to just all kind of problems. I remember I was in Houston at the time working, and the bays looked like snow. It just turned to slush. It froze, and even if it didn't kill the little red fish or trout fry, it got the shrimp larvae, it got the little mullet, it got everything that was in that shallow water and really cut it down. Well, if you cut the food, you cut the supply of nourishment, so naturally the population is going to go down. So, you know, we're starting to see a thing where nature hits, man hits, nature hits, man hits, and sometimes it's just too much. So in 1988, they looked at it again and said, hey, you know, we're going to have to do something a little bit better than that. So it came to what we have today. We went ahead and changed. They went ahead and changed it to the daily limit of 3 for everybody, and this is all along the coast, all the counties. Minimum went from 16 to 20, and we went maximum to 28 inches, which is the slot we have today. It's interesting, that same year they also put some limits on black drum. Sheep's head, I guess the shift, even flounder, I guess the shift from reds and trout put pressure on the other things, and combined with freezes and red tides and things like that, they just had to do it better. So that's where we are. I was wondering how we got there, because I do remember as a kid, just nobody worried about how many we caught, how big they are. If they were big enough to eat, we kept it. And that's fine until things get out of hand, and then all of a sudden you're looking at maybe nobody has fish. So I know you were wondering, it was one of those things that was keeping you up at night. How did we get to only 3 redfish in that slot? Well, now you know, you can sleep. Also, I want you to tell your friends, you know, you're becoming pretty smart listening to these things, because I'm getting smarter. I find out, do a little history, a little research. I know it's going to kill you, but you're going to have to wait another week till you get the next issue. And about the only thing left I can say is, you know, about how we got where we are with the redfish limit and slot size was, wait, what? I didn't know that. So guys, get out on the water. Go have fun, go relax. It's real stress with what's going on in the world, and we're not going to get into that. We're fishermen, I'm having fun. But go fishing, take a friend, take your wife, take your son, take your daughter, take your family. You know, I always heard, you know, if you take your family fishing and hunting, then you know where they are, especially your kids. You don't have to worry about what they're doing and where they are, you know. And later on down the road, we're going to show you how to start them off from little bitty up to bigger than you. So tell all your friends. If you like us, give us a like, give us your email, tell us what's going on out there, tell us what you want to see. You want to know something? Send me an email. I'll try to look it up. I'll see if I can interview somebody. I'll do whatever it takes to find out what you need. I'm looking forward to our next getting together. I want you guys on the water. I want you safe, and I want you to have fun. Give us a like, send us an email, do whatever it takes. Even if you don't like it, just keep it clean, please. It's trying to be a family show here. Be safe, guys. See you next time.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.